All right, Bronwyn, it's great to see you and thanks for joining us. What really intrigued me was when I put up the conversation with regards to the business of permaculture, and sort of that's how we connected, because you're sort of, hey, guess what I'm doing? And I
Yeah,
thought it'd be really cool if we could get you on just to have a conversation with regards to that, because you are a business coach, and you've been doing that for 5 years, and you did your PDC 4 years ago. You've spent a couple of years on Permaculture West board, and now you're on the board of Permaculture Australia as well, plus you're 15 years before that as a bookkeeper. I mean, that's a huge amount of experience that you're bringing to play. And so I thought, hey, let's invite you on just to have a casual conversation with regards to sort of that aspect and the business of permaculture and the coaching. So welcome, and
absolutely.
thanks for agreeing.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Michael. This has been, yeah, I really appreciated the invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, great. Thank you. So looking at it, sort of, the business of permaculture is sort of, I won't say it's sort of shunned in the permaculture community, but it's sort of something that's not talked about very often. And I've just found, working with people over the years, that there's certain aspects that are just not really discussed, and everyone kind of fumbles through up until a certain point. So I thought, from your perspective, as working in that world for a long time, just to kickstart the conversation,
yeah,
what would be the differences between sort of what you've experienced as a business coach and helping with regards to people setting up businesses, from the conventional world, or the conventional approach to things, to the way we would approach it in permaculture, looking at it from the view or the eyes of the ethics and design principle.
yeah, absolutely. So this, I agree. This is something that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I know that you know, being in permaculture really lends you to think about things differently. And, when you're starting a business and wanting to be, self-reliant and providing for your family, um, there is that tension there, because you don't want to make it all about the money. And no one ever wants to make it all about the money. But the cold hard fact is that, that is a very inescapable part of running a business and providing for your family. And, it's the same as if you have a job, you're doing it for the money. And so the the traditional, I guess, the mainstream approach to, say, starting a business, and especially like business coaching, I've really, there has been a shift in recent times, like back when business coaching was really became a thing, so like I guess back in the 90s, it was all about increasing your sales and making more profit, and really just that really capitalist kind of drive to make your business as big as it can possibly be. And that has shifted in recent years, especially with the rise of like life coaching and recognizing all of the soft skills that are really important, the mental health aspect and the kind of internal things that affect what you do externally. So while there has been a shift, like I watch what other people do, and I am in contact, and in my network, there's quite a lot of business coaches, and I always just sort of pay attention to what their message is, and how they work. And it's still kind of holding on to that, okay, well, the whole purpose of this is to get you to be making as much money as you can. And when well, when I started as a business coach, that was it was probably it wasn't that aspect of business that I wanted to focus on. It was more the life coaching. It's like, well, like coaching is this process of finding who you are at your core and
Mm,
aligning all of your activities and your things that you do with what's really important to you, so that you can get this life fulfillment, because it's not all about the money. And but that whole process of becoming a coach put me in that's what brought me to permaculture, because that's what's at my
oh, that's
core.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So you can't become a coach without going through that coaching process yourself. And and so for me, that really highlighted the fact how important it is to care for the earth. And I really have this deep reverence for the earth, and knowing that everything that we need for health and for happiness comes from
Mm.
the earth. So yeah, that was already a part of who I was, but this whole process of coaching brought it front and center. And that was when I found permaculture and, the rest is history. So that approach, how the way that affected my approach to the business coaching was that, while it was never really about the money, you see business coaching businesses give like guaranteed results. And to me that's such a red flag, because how do you know? I mean, how do you really know that you're going to be able to help someone to be able to guarantee it? It's like it's a one size fits all and everyone's after the same thing. And if I can do it, then you must be able to do it too. And if you can't do it, then there's something wrong with you, not me. Um, you know, and that really, really irritated me a lot. So that permaculture approach is a realizing and just recognizing that everyone's doing their own thing for their own reason in their own way. Everyone is unique, and not just so much that everyone is unique, but we all have a different part to play in the greater whole. And so you can have someone who, like their idea of running a permaculture business is operating very locally and maybe even being completely off grid. And to them, that is their demonstration of how to be a permaculture business. And then you could have someone else, and their approach is to have this worldwide audience teaching the principles of permaculture and how it provides all these solutions to all of these problems. And both of these people are doing it right. They're both
Mm,
doing what's best for them. And it might look completely different, but yeah, that permaculture approach is finding the unique part that where you fit in the greater whole.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's really cool. Yeah. So sort of when you're looking at sort of setting up this, and especially like the applying, like we were saying before, the ethics and design principles to this. So what do you think would be one of the key factors that people who are wanting to come into this, and as you said, for a permaculture, it's not about money, though money is part of sort of looking at that larger system.
Yeah.
Um, how is it that we could be able to apply some of these ethics and design principles to the concept of building a business in the first place?
Well, I guess, it's the same as if you're designing a landscape or designing a certain space. You start with that same approach of observing and but the first step for someone to want to, start a business doing it would be to ask the question, what problem am I solving?
Mm,
That there needs to be a relevance, and like I've had a lot of ideas throughout my whole life. I get so many ideas of it's like, oh, this will be a great idea, and and until I can verify that that idea is backed up by people who want that,
mm,
in the absence of people actually wanting and being prepared to pay money for something, it's not a business. It's a
mm.
cool idea. It could be a hobby, but it only becomes a business when you are solving a problem that someone is willing to pay for.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that's a really good point. So, looking at it from a perspective of just sort of, what are the problems you want to solve in the world and try and align that to sort of the needs or requirements of what's going on around you at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so thinking about that then, so you're looking at like products and services and all that sort of thing as well. So, how would you go around sort of looking at and pulling out, if you will, through the biases of what we have? Hey, I've just had a great idea. Or what we see out there in social media land, because there's so much going on at the minute. And sort of how could we go through and filter that for ourselves to really start to draw out what the products and services that we're looking at providing really are?
Well, it's finding that junction of where, like, because you've done a PDC, that doesn't make you an expert in everything that you learn in a PDC. There is so much, and this is it took me quite a while to be able to really define in my own understanding what permaculture is, because it's so broad and it touches on so many things and it impacts so many things. So, someone who's done a PDC or any other formal education in permaculture, there will be a part of it that really shines out for you, that really lights you up, and for some, it's seed saving, and for others it's compost, and for others it's that design element of, taking a space and making it really productive and beautiful and self-sufficient. Um, and so there's finding what really lights you up, and what really, drives you and gives you a lot of excitement when you think about it, and matching that with what other people need and want. And you can do that only by talking to people. And whether it's in person or online doesn't make a difference. But it's talking, it's having that direct interaction with people to really find out what problem people are experiencing. And when you find a group of people that are experiencing a problem that that you can do something about, you can offer, then there's the beginnings of, creating a business around that. But
Mm,
starting out is hard. It would be so much easier to come into an already established business and just keep doing what they're doing. Starting a business from scratch is hard because you're first, finding your spot in that marketplace, and finding the people who you can help, and at the same time, figuring out all of the structures of how that business works to be able to make it an actual sort of going concern and have some viability.
And that's it. I mean, I know just for myself when I first started this, 11 odd years ago, it was sort of fumbling through the space. There was no real guidance, and sort of tripped over some things. Oh, there's a possibility. Oh, there's a possibility while you're landing flat in your face at the same time. So, looking at it from a coaching perspective, I mean, what sort of benefits would there be by having a coach to help you guide through this? I mean, this is completely new as a concept for me. It was just
Yeah.
sort of like I said, it's hard to start up a business and then starting to in a niche industry like permaculture. And it's like, where do you go and sort of what sort of direction do you think, or even down to the likes of costings and pricings and stuff? I mean, that was a big learning curve for me.
Mm.
What was the value proposition that I could bring, and that people could actually value, so therefore it would move further into that space.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the benefit of coaching is really, I don't know, I shy away from taking on that consultant role, um, because that means that I'm an expert and I just need to tell you what to do. And that is totally not what I am about. But the fact remains, like you said, I've been working with small businesses my entire working life has been either working in or with or for small businesses. And so I've seen so much, and particularly, um, I really value the lessons that I've learned from the small businesses that I worked with that could not find the solutions to their problems and ended up shutting up shop. That was always really hard, um, in that experience where, yeah, if you don't get that right, that is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, the costings, my goodness. I remember a conversation I had with a takeaway shop owner, and I was asking him, okay, well, so what did you find out when you did your costings on your hamburger to work out what to charge? And he said, oh, I haven't. You what? And he hadn't done a costing. He hadn't worked out what it costs for the meat patty and the bun and the lettuce and the cheese and the tomato. And then factor in how much it costs to pay the wages for that person to be flipping the burger and putting it together. And then taking into account all the overheads. And, there's so much, that so much information that you need to be making your decisions on. And if you don't have that information, then you're flying blind.
Mm,
And that's a really dangerous place to start from. And I really love that, there are people who can fumble and figure it out as they go, but you can save yourself so much heartache and stress, by having a bit of guidance at the beginning to say, okay, well, number one is you need to know what it costs to be able to know what to charge.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I remember when I first started and it was, giving it away for free. It's permaculture, give it away for free for the world. And you're trying to do the best you can, but, there was no, well, while there was a lot of immense personal satisfaction, it was costing a lot to be
Yeah,
able to
and it
do
becomes an
that. And then
expensive hobby.
it was a very expensive hobby. I mean, I was reading something recently. It's like, most hobbyists spend about $250 a year on their hobby or whatever. It's like, there's no way it was costing me that much. It's costing me a lot more.
Thousands.
Yeah, absolutely. So to make it, it's sort of, we talk about sustainability and that idea of financial sustainability as well, ecological and social and mental as well, which is a big one.
Yeah.
So, what other things would we need to consider when we're looking at those cost and pricings? And it's like, okay, the different bits that are in the burger, as it were. But also, how do we give that to understand our own value in that value proposition as well?
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really hard one because I know people in the past who have, gone out on their own and they've come from a job. And in that job, they might have been paid, let's say, $35 an hour.
Mm,
And so they go out and, work for themselves and they become self-employed. And they're charging themselves they might up it to like $40 an hour because they know that there are some kind of overheads. And and it just doesn't work like that because when you're looking at like from the other perspective, from the employer's perspective,
mm,
looking at an employee, if you're paying someone $35 an hour, the actual cost of that employee, when you consider the superannuation and the work cover insurance and the annual leave and the public holidays and all of that stuff, it works out at over $50 an hour of what that employee is costing you. And then on top of that cost, you then need to make a profit. And so that's why people who are getting paid $35 an hour, their company might be charging them out at $70 or even $100 an hour
mm.
because of those other costs that it takes to run a business. And so, and I guess there's probably a distinction to make whether you are self-employed or running a business. And if you're self-employed, which I think most people in that permaculture space of, like say, let's say a designer, um, if they're working on like an hourly rate, they would be a self-employed person. Um, that self-employed person, as soon as they stop working, there is no income. Whereas if you're running a business and treating yourself as an employee of that business,
Yeah.
it shifts that perspective and you can see, okay, well, I need to provide for this so that I
Mhm.
can have a holiday and still get paid. And, that's such a foreign concept to anyone who's worked for themselves for a long time. That the idea
Mm.
of being paid for a holiday, that's just a luxury that only employees have.
Yeah, but not only that, it's also the idea of super and stuff as well. Because if you even if you're just working for yourself, if you don't pay that, you're actually robbing yourself. You're robbing your future self in that
Exactly.
aspect. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And, I know this because for a long time, that's what I did too.
mm,
I've been through that experience and I know what it's like. So,
mm. Yeah. So I
yeah.
mean,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I was going to actually get to the answer of your question.
Yeah.
In terms of like, how do you then, cost your time? So with the skills that you offer to work out what to charge, um, this is something that a lot of people don't understand is that it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about what you think you're worth. And it's not even about what you think it costs to run a business. It's about the solution. And that solution has a value. And there are people willing to pay for that solution to come to them. And so, when you think about the skill and the expertise that you acquire through your journey of, learning permaculture and experiencing all of the things that you have to be able to have that knowledge that you have, that skill and that knowledge and that wisdom is really valuable.
Mm,
And not only that, um, if that skill in your head and that wisdom is the income producing asset of your business, then that needs to be maintained. And so you need to factor in the cost of continual professional development. And,
Mm,
always learning, always refining, always updating, just as you would if you have a piece of machinery that's making you money, you look after that machine. And
mm,
so you need to look after the skills and the wisdom that's in your head. And not only that, but to be able to transfer that to other people so that the business doesn't rely entirely on you.
mm.
And yeah, well, yeah, that may be something that we talk about in a minute. Uh, but yeah,
It's a
yeah,
really good, it's a really good point though. I mean, because there's that professional development aspect as well, which has got to be considered within the costings.
yeah,
I just know for myself, I spend roughly between $3,000 and $6,000 a year on professional development, different courses, and all sorts of other bits and pieces to
yeah,
actually bring in to give more value to my clients and to my students and other stuff as well. So, yeah, so when you're looking at the long-term costings of these things, it's not just your holiday and your super, but also that professional development, so we can continue to dive deeper into the space
yeah.
to progress what we're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So that sort of leads into sort of, I guess you could say, the thing that most Permies hate, the marketing. Because it's sort of, you've got your, for lack of a better term, you've got your brand, you've got some services, some products and things that you're sort of looking at, and it's like, well, okay, how do we get, especially in today's world? I mean, it's getting so noisy as far as when you're looking at that, and the different algorithms and different platforms and web pages and there's not just it does do my head in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Professional help from time to time, but it still does my head in. Now,
Yeah.
from a coaching perspective, I mean, what sort of things do we need to consider to build that marketing program to help
Yeah.
get the message out there?
All right. So the reason that marketing and sales and everything like that feels so icky to so many people is because it's come from this perspective of I'm trying, like I have something I want to sell you, and so I need to convince you that you need it.
Mm,
And that kind of deception of like, I have this thing and I have to convince
okay.
you
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that, yeah, that's totally messed up. Because that's what we receive when we get all of these bombarding messages from everyone else telling us that we're not good enough until we have this. And, you know, um, like um, that's the whole success of the cosmetics industry.
Mm,
The cosmetics industry has been built entirely on telling people that they're not good enough until they have this particular face, right? And so when like I know on LinkedIn, on LinkedIn I'm there and I'm saying that I'm a coach, and so I get invitations and messages all the time from people wanting to because they work with coaches to scale them to 6 and 7 figures. It's like
mm,
I am not your target audience. You're wasting your time with me
mm,
um, because that's not what I'm about. And so that's what we see around us, and that's what we think that we have to do to be able to make it. But that's such a lie. Marketing is connecting your solution to someone's need.
mm,
It's that same permaculture principle where you connect up the products of one element with the needs of another element. We're just finding that match. Um, you're finding the people who need the solution that you offer.
mm,
And that is an entirely whole thing all on its own. But again, it's not about you. It's not about you trying to push yourself on someone else. It's about seeing someone has a need and you saying, I can help with that.
mm,
Is this interesting to you? And um, you know, the pattern of, I guess, marketing, I guess those filters is to know, to like, and to trust. And it's like building relationship. And so that's why people would have I think the average at the moment, like it used to be 7 touch points before someone like but between someone coming into contact with what you're offering to the point of actually, buying. It's now something more like 22.
Oh,
or
wow.
24. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane, because there is so much conflicting bombardment of everything else.
Mm,
And you need to work a little harder to develop that relationship of trust, for someone to say, okay, well, I think this person actually is right for me.
yeah.
Um, and so it's but again, it's not about you, it's about the solution. If you have a solution to offer, and if people have a problem that needs that solution, it's okay. That's a good fit. That's a match.
Mm,
Um, I guess a little story just to, paint that picture is, um, there's this guy who was given a painting for a Christmas present, and he didn't like it, but he told, I think it was his in-laws. It's like, oh, it's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. And he put it away, never to be seen again. And then his in-laws say that they're going to come visit, and he remembers this painting. Oh, freaking out. Okay, well, I need to put up this painting, and so he can't find the hammer or the nail to bang it into the wall to be able to hang up this picture. And like his in-laws are going to be here in a couple of hours, and so how valuable is that hammer and that nail to him in that moment? you know if he sees an ad for someone selling a hammer and a nail, it's not them pushing something that he doesn't need. It's okay, well, oh my goodness, that's what I need right now, and I would pay probably a lot more than it's actually, cost to make,
just to get
to be
that
able
picture
to
on the
have that
wall.
solution. Yeah. And so it's
Mm,
understanding how important and urgent is that problem that you're solving.
mm. Yeah, it's interesting because you're saying it's gone from seven to like 22 to 23 touchstones before
Yeah.
someone actually sort of comes into it. But also, I know I had a bit of a rabbiting on moment yesterday with regards to it. I was watching some stuff as far as education is concerned, and it was all very, pay, like, going to the algorithm. And it's like, I don't know if you remember the big Kev ads for these cleaning products in the early 2000s. Humex, and it's just like everything had that sort of energy, and it honestly it got overwhelming.
Yeah.
And sort of, when everything, even on the educational aspect, was sort of hitting that tone. And yeah, it just seemed to be a bit of too much an overwhelm because it's catering to that algorithm. Do you think it's important? Well, actually, from a coach perspective, do you think it's important that we need to consider a little bit of individualism as far as that's concerned, or do we need to take into account the algorithm with regards to sort of getting the message out there?
Well, yeah. To do digital marketing, whether it's
Mm,
online or website or ads or whatever it is, um, I guess it's understanding how it works.
mm,
And like, I know Facebook marketing makes Facebook a lot of money. It doesn't always make you know, so you really have to sort of understand what you're doing and what the purpose is, and how it works to
mm,
be able to get the benefit from it that you want. And like, I know people that have done Facebook marketing really successfully.
mm.
There was one who, it was, those subscription boxes of fruit and veg.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so she started this, and the entire thing was done through like the local pages of a particular geographical area. Just getting on there and saying, "Oh, we've got these, fruit and veg boxes," and she ran the entire business through that medium,
Oh,
and
wow.
that worked for her.
Mm,
Um, and it, but it's relying on Facebook. Uh, I guess it's going where people are.
mm.
And that has always been the selling point of Facebook, is that's where at some point in time where everyone is.
Yeah,
Um,
something like 2 million people a day sign on to it or something. It's just
yeah, yeah,
astronomical.
it's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And how many of them are fake accounts, right?
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah, absolutely.
um, but yeah, so it is so easy to throw money down the drain doing
Mm,
digital marketing, and and at the same time, there are people who do that for you. Um, but again, you don't know if someone's actually going to do what they say they're going to do.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's a big minefield. Um, I would suggest, especially to someone starting out,
Yep.
to face to face, face to face, not relying on the masses of people behind that screen, but
Mm.
who's in front of you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
And it doesn't need to be family and friends, but talk to people because people know other people, and you can ask for invitations. You can ask for introductions. Um, that's okay. And you can say, I'm thinking about this. Do you know anyone I could talk to?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a really good point because, it gets back to that connectivity as well. It's getting off that screen and the keyboard warrior approach and sort of
Yeah.
looking at it and going, well, having a real conversation, which is actually really important. And that's great. Thank you.
Hmm.
And sort of, but, once we've got the sort of the marketing side done and we've got a few clients, and that sort of leads into the idea of operations and sort of how we work behind the scenes to actually sort of make that happen. Now, again, I fumbled a lot when I was starting out. And so, rather than, what is the sort of ideas that you bring to the table as a coach? Again, this is all completely new for me. So, as a coach to come in and sort of say, hey, these are the things to consider as far as your operations is concerned.
Yeah. So with the operations, and I mean, it's different for every business, and we don't know if we're talking about a permaculture designer or a landscaper or someone who's entirely not connected to, gardening as such, but, say like, let's say that the example of, the business I was running as a bookkeeper, completely not connected to permaculture, in a direct sense. And there are those people, okay, but, if we're talking about someone who is in that space of running a business with and using their permaculture knowledge,
Mm,
um, those operations would be, you're looking at the delivery of services, whether that's education or, a physical result like a space or a landscape or something like that, or, a market gardener, producing produce, um, anything like that. Those operations, you're using that permaculture approach to, you know, to look at the resources going into it and to produce no waste, and recognizing that um, the waste of one element is actually a need of another element. You know, like my favorite thing ever is the way chickens um, produce the exact thing that like fruit trees need to grow.
mm,
And so that they just, it's a match made in heaven. And so I've got my orchard in my chicken yard. So
mm,
um, that idea of operations and running efficiently and effectively, it is the same way that you would approach doing a permaculture design. By You look at the patterns, you look at the overarching structure and framework of what's the purpose of what we're doing, what is the end result,
yep,
and then how do we get there?
mm,
Um, you know, Step by step, or however that works out. Um, and there's this it's an acronym called Tim Woods. And Tim Woods is an acronym for I guess minimizing waste.
okay.
And it stands for transport, inventory, movement, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, and skills. And each of those things are things that you can have wastage, like if you're waiting for something to be delivered, well, that's an unnecessary delay, and that makes you less efficient. Um,
Mm,
if you are holding on to more inventory than you need, then that's a waste of resources because it's money tied up in stock that isn't moving. Um, and even with transport, like we love um, promoting local procurement, um, and cutting down on the kilometers of things that you use in your business. Um, and uh, with defects, if you make a mistake, then you have to do it again, and that wastes time and that wastes energy and everything like that, and wasting skills. If you have a skill doing something, but your business is having you do something really mundane, that is not a proper use of the skill in your head, and the knowledge that you have, then that's going to waste. So using that approach, so that's from, like, I guess, like the mainstream business world, is this Tim Woods of eradicating waste. If we put that permaculture's perspective on it, understanding that every waste product is actually the need of another element, you can find you can actually find some beautiful things. Say, like, if you are delayed waiting for delivery of some particular thing, that would be really frustrating because you can't, you know, get on and get on with your work. But maybe that gives you an opportunity to, maybe what you needed at that time was to have a rest and to
Mm,
renew your own energy levels, to just regroup and provide some clarity. And what one thing I love about business coaching
mm,
is seeing these examples of the paradox of how things work, and seeing how embracing the counterintuitive approach can really bring things out. So, for example, like, if you want to, um, I guess, be really successful in your business, and in saying that, I'm saying it is okay to want to make a lot of money. It doesn't make you a greedy capitalist pig. Money is how you can have a bigger impact. Um,
mm. So I
yeah,
guess it's not so much about the money itself, but how you use it as a resource. So whether the
exactly.
level of reciprocity or the donation or whatever, however you map out that ecosystem, that business ecosystem that you're looking at.
That's right. That's right. So in saying that it's okay to make a lot of money, if that is your purpose, if that's your motivation, then in order to achieve that, you need to risk having nothing. You need to take that risk and embrace the possibility and that chance of not having money, because maybe you invest everything that you have into doing something. That's a big risk, because if it fails, you're left with nothing.
Mm,
But it is only through that embracing the opposite of what you want that you can have the chance to achieve what it is that you're going for. And another example would be, like, if you're someone who has, I guess, um, separation issues or abandonment issues, sometimes lead you to behavior that would be really clingy. And so we're not talking in a business sense, we're talking like sort of an emotional, personal
yeah.
sense here. To just to add context to it all. Um, but yeah, if you have this deep-seated fear of being abandoned, then that can flavor your behavior to be more clingy.
Yeah.
But it's become, but that very behavior of being really clingy makes you undesirable to the people that you're clinging to, and you end up being abandoned anyway. So
I
if
see what you're saying.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, so if you have that fear of being abandoned and being alone, the key to finding your way through that is to embrace being alone. And um, when that fear no longer controls you, then you're demonstrating behavior that can foster a really healthy relationship with someone else.
All right. I guess it's like, the design principle, use edges and value the marginal.
Yeah,
Getting out there on an edge and putting a thing, what was it, the formidable vegetable sound system? If you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. So, really putting yourself out there to just with the chance that, okay, it may fail, but that's actually a first attempt in learning. So how can we learn from that and then move forward again? So it might be two steps forward, one step back, but it's only one compared to two. So you're
yeah,
constantly progressing.
yeah, yeah. And like, with the experiences that I've been through, um, I've come to really appreciate that everything that I really value in my life has come as a direct result of going through some really ugly stuff and really
Mm,
uncomfortable stuff. And that end result wasn't possible if it wasn't for that stuff I had to go through.
yeah.
And so yeah, when I talk about like that paradox of life, that really, yeah, it adds a really comforting perspective to anything that you're going through.
And leading that into the idea of finance and administration, because while we might have our operations all up and moving and we're putting it out there and we've got our marketing programs and we're sort of getting that message out there. But I like to say when it's to my students when we're talking design, it's not the observation or the design or the implementation, it's the management where it's at. And so, when you're looking at it from a business perspective or a permaculture business perspective, the idea of finance and administration, people like, um, but it's something we have to do. So, what are your thoughts with regards to sort of how we can actually manage that sustainably within a
Yeah,
permaculture business?
absolutely. Now, I realize that I am speaking as a person who loves spreadsheets. I don't.
Ah,
I don't just do them well. I really love spreadsheets, right?
okay.
I am a numbers nerd, absolutely.
Mm,
Um, and so I get that maths and therefore finance is an uncomfortable thing for a lot of people. And the way maths was taught in schools not that long ago was really horrible because it was only catering to people like me who love numbers, right? And a lot of people aren't like that. And so a lot of people had this trauma from trying to learn maths at school. But numbers is in everything that we do.
mm,
And so there's no escaping it, but not more than just, there's no escaping it. It's also you can do this because you have been doing this already. So there is this one uh, educational video that I made one time, and I was explaining bookkeeping by using the analogy of folding laundry. Uh,
okay.
Bookkeeping is just putting things in the categories where they belong. Just like you have a big basket of laundry and you're folding it into everyone's pile of washing, um, that's all it is. It's just taking something and saying, okay, well, this was advertising, and that was the telephone bill, and that was the income that came in, and it just slots into its category. It's about understanding it in terms that you can relate to.
Mm.
Um,
I suppose
and
it's sorry.
no, no, you go.
Yeah. So it's sort of like, the idea of small and slow solutions where you're looking at it and going, constantly just chipping away at it rather than sit there and at the end of the week you look at this pile, it's this pile of laundry that's, 5 foot high and you're like, oh my God, where do I start?
Yeah, yeah. So that is the key to maintaining your administration and the bookkeeping and the finances and everything, all the accounts.
Mm.
You must do it frequently, small, consistent actions and tasks to keep on top of it all the time. Because yeah, I've been given a mountain where someone hadn't done a tax return in like 3 years.
Mm.
It happens. My
Yeah.
goodness. And it is so overwhelming and it's so depressing. How do you start with something that big? And yeah, so just bit by bit, keeping on top of it.
Mm.
It's not a big elephant to tackle each time. It's a tiny little yeah, it becomes a tiny little mouse. That's very
Part of
easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's really important because I guess the long term sustainability of these things. We've got to pay our bills and we've got to have
Yeah.
all our ducks in a row, as it were. Though I've never seen ducks in a row, to be perfectly honest. Just trying to round them up into that space is really quite difficult in the first place. But yeah, it's sort of, yeah, herding cats sometimes. leading into the idea of sort of building a sort of a level of self-reliance and resilience in your business for the future. I guess, it's when you're looking at the constant idea of, professional development and the value add and the value proposition that you're bringing, and that's not necessarily money-wise, it's just sort of the skills and the experience and the time that you're bringing to the equation of a consultant or an education or whatever the business model might happen to be. So how do you think of it and start thinking because that can be really overwhelming. And then
Mm.
you go start looking at well, what's the future going to look like for this? And sometimes I've seen some people, and it's just like, I don't know where to start. It's just like, while you've got this idea and it sounds really cool, and get a couple of things under your belt, but then you've got to start thinking about that future for yourself, for your business, for your community, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, yeah. And think of that principle of creatively respond and like expect and respond to change. Things are going to change, and
Mm,
everything moves through seasons, and everything will have its season, and then it will be time for something else. And so when we're talking about succession planning, it's that intentional preparation for something that will most assuredly come. That day will come when you don't want to work anymore. And it has been really sad, especially talking to like some of the permaculture elders that have been doing this all their lives and perhaps having to sell their homes because they don't have that succession that they haven't prepared for life after what they're doing now. So this is where business is a really important thing, where a business is a separate entity, and this is where it's different to being self-employed.
mm,
Having a business is a separate entity that will live on after you. It is your legacy, and you start it and you fuel it and build it up with all of your genius goes into creating this business. But then in order to make that pay you dividends at the end when it's time for you to step away, that business needs to survive on without you. And so that becomes this responsibility to teach what you know to people who will then replace you.
mm,
So when you start a business, ideally, you would know the end from the beginning. You would know that, okay, I'm going to run this business for, a certain number of years, and at this age, I'm going to move on to the next thing, or I'm going to retire, or something like that. And having that in mind right at the beginning will help all of those decisions that you make along the way to be in line with that. So for me personally, the first milestone of starting a business is to replace yourself and make the business make enough money that you can hire someone to do the things that you don't want to do the things that you don't want to do, especially like if you don't enjoy doing the bookkeeping and the accounts or the administration or the marketing or anything like that. How
yeah.
great would it be? It's a pretty good motivator to get that business making enough money that you can then hire someone to take care of that, and then you don't have to do that anymore.
Mm. Rather than trying to be
Um,
the expert at everything.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Mm,
And so as you gradually replace the things that you don't want to do, you can then train up someone to then replace you. And it doesn't mean that you're losing your control of the business,
mm,
because the captain of a ship captains best from the bridge, right? When he can see everything that's going on around them. And if the captain is down on the deck, doing all of the dirty work, you can't really see everything that's going on around you. You're just sort of consumed with the immediate task. And so if you're a business owner and your job is just simply to steer the ship, that's the best position to be in. That is full control of everything that's going on, but you don't have to do the the doing.
mm. So you get to see again, patterns to detail approach. You're looking at it from a patterns perspective and let the details sort of fall as they may with regards to who you're getting in to do those jobs that you're not either
That's right.
overly keen or whatever the reason might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So looking at it, and I know that just from our discussions previously, that you're looking at starting your own, like a little course with regards to people who are wanting to come in and start permaculture businesses and sort of looking at it from the coaching perspective. Have you got anything you'd like to add to that, or do a little bit of a plug or something?
Okay, yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have been asked by a couple of other people in the community about, do I offer coaching to people that have, say, for example, like just come out of a PDC, and it's like that would be such a brilliant time to introduce this concept right at the very beginning. You have this knowledge and you have this passion and enthusiasm, and we're going to go out and we're going to, change the world. um, to be able to offer just a quick program in the fundamental basics of what it means to run a business is that would be like a 6 session program of looking at what are you doing for the marketing, how are you going to set up your structures and your operations, how are you going to manage finances, all of that, basically all the stuff that we've been talking about here. uh,
Well, yeah, I guess it is the foundational stuff with regards to a business, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. But really, the first question would need to be asked is running a business right for you?
Mm,
Not everyone is designed to be an entrepreneur. It takes, it takes a certain amount of, I don't know. It's like takes a special kind of crazy to be a business owner.
crazy is the word. Yeah.
But it's really fulfilling, and I know people who, running their own business is them in their element, and I've known other people who they just need to be an employee. That they're really good at their skill, but that business of running a business, it's not for everyone.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and also recognizing, we like you were saying before, what is your passion? Where is your strength that it lies? I
Yeah.
remember saying a few years ago to a friend that it's like, sometimes I wish I just had a 9 to 5 job and go in and do that. And I said, Michael, you would last a week before you would go insane. Because all of a sudden you do want to make changes, you want to do all sorts of stuff. It's just,
Yeah,
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 but understanding what that core, I guess, value is for you.
yeah. And for someone who really needs that security,
Mm,
yeah, starting your own business is not the pathway to guaranteed security. It can be. There's that potential for it, and that's, I guess, that aspiration and it's that ambition that
mm,
of that potential of what's possible. Uh, but you earn that through really, doing it hard for the
yeah.
first couple of years. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I say, what is it, roughly 3 to 5 years before you start actually getting somewhere as far as the business is concerned, or something along those lines?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's about that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, that's fascinating. Yeah, cool. Thank you very much for that. Now, have you got any sort of last words or lessons that you've learned as far as this is concerned, and sort of applying it to through the eyes of the ethics and design principles that people might learn or take away from this discussion?
I guess so. If there is one thing that I would want people to take away from this, perhaps it's like it's not about you.
Mm,
It's about the solution. You can be a wonderful conduit of delivering that solution to people all around you. And there are plenty of people that need what permaculture offers. And so, anyone who has embraced permaculture, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see it as you kind of have a responsibility to share that with everyone else who's drowning all around you. Permaculture is such a beautiful solution that offers the answer to so many problems in so many beautiful ways. And and I love the way it's very often counterintuitive. Finding the solution in the problem is something that most people are not accustomed to look to. It's not a way that a lot of people are used to thinking.
mm,
And so, yeah, that would probably be the one thing that I would want to leave is that we all have this wonderful wisdom, and we need to share it with the world. The world really needs it.
Mm,
And yeah, so it's not about you. You
yeah.
can be part of this wonderful movement and do your bit, but it's about the solution.
Yeah, awesome. That's very humbling. Yeah, and beautiful. Thanks, Bronwyn. That's just really, really great. So thank you for your time, and really appreciate that you could come on and sort of share some of your wisdom with regards to this really complex and complicated topic, and hopefully people will take something away from this.
Yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity, Michael. It's been wonderful to have this chat.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.